So as the president, as you just heard, focuses on the wall and on trade, I want you to listen to this quote from way back in 1910. Here it is. Politicians use economics in the same way that a drunk uses lampposts, for support rather than illumination. Illumination meaning advice or knowledge. Andrew Lang, who said that, was not an economist. He was an anthropologist. But look at these examples. President George W. Bush ignored economists' suggestions to bail out homeowners instead of bailing out the banks after the financial crisis. President Obama chose to focus on health care instead of pouring all energy into rebuilding the U.S. economy post-financial crisis. President Trump? Well, we don't know yet, but Princeton economics professor Alan Blinder might. He is the author of the new book, Advice and Dissent: Why America Suffers When Economics and Politics Collide. He joins us now. Good to see you, Professor. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Liz.
Well, from a standpoint of an economist, is President Donald Trump on or off point by focusing on the wall and fairer trade?
I'd say he's pretty far off point. Now, talking about fair trade is fine. I mean, we want trade to be fair, but as you know, that's often a euphemism for protectionism, which is not fine. I mean, is a steel tariff part of fair trade? Most economists don't think so.
I'm hearing you say that what could, I guess, eventually become a multi-front trade war is not the way to be going here. What should he be focusing on then? And by the way, I would say the economy doesn't look that bad right now.
No, the economy looks quite good, absolutely. But to the China point rather than to the steel point, which is the bigger deal when we talk about a trade war, he looks like he's provoking it with China. He missed the boat on the best opportunity. The real issue with China, or the main issue with China, is intellectual property protection, or in the Chinese case, non-protection. They grab intellectual properties in a way that Western countries don't. We already had the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, teed up with most of the Pacific Rim countries, but just about all of them, in it, and China out. And a lot of the TPP was about intellectual property. A lot of it was what the United States wanted to get done on that front. And poof, you know, it disappeared on the first day of the Trump administration. That was the way to attack the intellectual property issue.
Can I just say, on many fronts, the president has been, he's been like Mike Tyson. He's punching here and punching there. He's doing a lot, and everything from residential property sales to manufacturing seem to be perking up. The Fed's inflation, and you, of course, having been a vice chair at the Fed, concede that the Fed's preferred inflation level, the PCE, is getting within striking distance, I would say, of its target rate of 2%. Make your case as to why the president should be listening more to economists like you.
Well, I think take where you just were about Federal Reserve policy in the state of the macroeconomy. The monetary policy part of that, not the fiscal policy part of that, is left to technocrats, mostly economists, although, as you know, Jay Powell himself is not an economist. But right. Janet Yellen, Ben Bernanke, and so on were. This is one of the few aspects of economic policy where the politicians basically pull away and say, we're going to leave this to you technocrats. Do what you think is best within the law. There are lots of legal constraints on what they can do. Fiscal policy, on the other hand, is left to the Congress and to the president.
I need some predictions from you, assuming that you've been really focusing on these things. What weak house of cards is being built right now that you see could eventually tumble, that's a problem on the economic level?
I think we're worried about a few things that are happening sort of, well, I don't want to say beneath the surface. It's not like it's a secret. First of all, we're blowing up the budget deficit to levels that in peacetime have essentially never been seen in the United States. Now, I'm not crazy. I'm not one of these nuts. Not nuts. I'm not one of these fanatics that think you can never run a deficit. You can run a deficit. But there has to be a limit, and we seem to be passing that limit.
You're past that one.
Secondly, and relatedly, as you properly said, we have an economy that's basically at full employment. It's sort of right where we want it to be, like 4% unemployment rate, almost a 2% inflation rate. Why should we be pushing a large fiscal stimulus at this point in time? I don't hear an answer.
Well,
to that. I don't think there is.
Well, people would love to see an infrastructure plan, but to the point of the book, as we wrap here, Alan, don't economists inherently have political bias that colors or somehow pushes in a certain direction their advice to presidents? And that's for the president to decide to take or jettison.
Yeah, sure. Some do, and especially the ones that go in the White House to advise the president, whether they're a Democrat or a Republican. They have political biases which usually coincide reasonably closely with that of the president. But they're there not to give political advice. They're there to give technical advice, which the president may throw away or listen to at his whim. One
of my favorite chapters in the book is when you talk about what Democrats do wrong and what Republicans do wrong. And then you use the word sometimes. So you do not paint everybody with the same brush. The book is called Advice and Dissent. Good luck with it, sir. Thank you.